Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Keys to Flex. We're here today to talk about the new Helldivers update 1.003.101. We had some good changes to primary weapons, secondary weapons, how enemies react to different things. They added some more armor passives, and just some general bug fixes. So real quick, here's just all the things you need to know about the new update, starting with the weapons. So the amendment got an increase in ergonomics from 35 to 50. If anything, that's just going to kind of help you out when it comes to running around, doing those turn quick shots, and it's going to open up different armors you can use. Before, it made more sense to use like peak physique to increase like the ergonomics in general to use this, also increase the melee damage for the bayonetta, but it's going to also open it up for you using the other armor passive, one of the newer armor passives, Street Scouts. So it'll help your primary weapon a little bit, even one like this, which will increase your melee damage a little bit and the reload speed of your primary weapon too. So again, don't use the amendment personally, but I think that's a good change for that in general. They also did change the sidearm, the Peacemaker, that kind of starting pistol we all get, increased starting mag from 4 to 5, max spare magazine increased from 6 to 8. I guess that's from like armor passes and stuff. Increased damage from 75 to 85, and then increased durable damage from 15 to 25. So just overall buff for this. I mean, great for new players because it's just going to give them, a little bit of an edge when you're using that kind of starting primary. I might try that out with that armor passive for the secondaries. I really like the Verdict, obviously. I like the Talon. I like a lot of the other secondaries, but I mean, that might just give the Peacemaker, some of its own time to shine. And that's pretty much it for the weapons, just like two small changes there. Don't really think they needed to change too much. Another one that I just see, again, general change, just real quick we'll talk about, is the ability to stem mid-dive. I think that's huge. They described it as like a running with scissors or juggling live grenade, but now they're going to let us do it. I think that's so great, especially like bots. You're kind of diving, going through like hell, just trying to stay alive. Being able to pop that stem in the middle of a dive is going to be clutch. So now to the armor passives. Integrated explosives first. You get just 2 more grenades. I think this is going to be great. I don't necessarily think it's going to be better than some of these other like 2 grenades where you increase your recoil or your like throwing distance or limb health or whatever it may be. But for those of us that just, like to have that Martyrdom perk, just explode after you die. Anybody who's just kind of running an all explosive build, that may just be, your best bet. You'll explode when you die. You'll have more grenades. Bring all your explosive stuff with you. I think it's good. I mean, obviously the armor passive before is just kind of weak. Adding more to it obviously helps. The real star of the show, though, unflinching, helps prevent divers from flinching, but then they added the 25 higher armor rating, and then the marker placed on the map will generate scans. I think that one's kind of interesting because you don't really have that one on anything other than the scout armor. So why they went with that, no idea. I mean, just obviously not going to complain. Nice little extra passive. But obviously the big one here is a higher armor rating. I do think, I'm going to just read this again just to make sure, to better reflect the core doctrine. Okay. I thought maybe that the unflinching would work a little bit better. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But again, just obviously more passive, the better. And I think this sets a good precedent. They've done this before. Clearly, they've added additional changes to pre-existing armor. But I think doing it to some more is just going to really help us. Me and my buddies were talking about with the arc armor, maybe they add like another passive to that, like somehow, some way, especially with the new like arc stuff coming down the pipeline. And then just, again, anything they can add to armors that just like aren't getting used. I'm always a believer in like buffing more stuff than necessarily nerfing more stuff. So that's all good. So again, that's like kind of it, I think, for like our arsenal and what we get for buffs. Next is kind of to talk about like the enemies. The stealth detection update, I was reading about this. I think out of all the changes, this one's kind of the most interesting and the most exciting. So enemies will no longer automatically detect you when you're near terminid spawners or spawners that generate flying enemies, i.e., I guess, gunships. And, I mean, it said terminid spawners, so I'm assuming that just means the flying spewer guys, whatever. It will only actively target you if an enemy has already identified you. So I guess previously being within 200 meters of certain spawn types, such as flying enemy spawners, stalker lairs, or terminal locations, would trigger immediate enemy spawns and reveal your location. This update shifts to more logical line of sight based stuff. So I guess something has to see you within the realm of that spawner in order for things to spawn out of the spawner. No, that's kind of complicated, but essentially that just means like stalkers aren't just going to kind of come out of nowhere and just light you and your whole team up. You're going to kind of have to be, I mean, you're going to have to be very close to the stalker nest. I mean, I can tell you how many times like I've been playing and you're just kind of running around and then you find a stalker. And then you spend the next 15 minutes looking for that stalker nest because you don't have the LiDAR station. You just don't know where any of the objectives are. And you just can't tell where they're coming from. So again, huge change there. I think this will open up. Like, I mean, obviously this is just a passive nerf to the scout armor set as well. If they're changing the way enemy detection works, it's just going to make you want to use more stealth armor. So again, really good thing there. I think that's super cool. Again, the best thing out of all this patch notes. And then it does say for automaton fabricators now spawn enemies more consistently. I did kind of notice when you're like busting up a base, like it'll be a hot minute before anything comes out of that automaton fabricator versus like when you're trying to do one of those mega nests, like stuff is spawning constantly. So they did help the bots. I hate that because I hate the bots. But, you know, I think it kind of makes sense. I think if the other changes, like the gunship and the other things, like they don't spawn as often. Again, there was so much, they kept saying Terminid in the patch notes here, but if it's all enemies with the new spawning changes, I think overall it's going to be easier for us, more realistic, more manageable. And so next is going to be the objective. So take down overship, planetary defense system just does more damage to that. I think that's funny because, you know, obviously we haven't done any mega cities, we haven't done any invasions for the Illuminate, so that'll just be like something to look forward to when we have to do that mission again. Because I don't know, I didn't do that mission when we were just doing that last major order. So again, we'll see, and we'll talk about the new major order here in a second. But for the Illuminate portion, harvesters, health rebalancing, you can do more damage to the head with the anti-tank. I think that's great. Harvesters kind of would just, you know, like sit there and just eat so many bullets. Like I'd use the laser cannon on the ice levels. I'd use the heavy machine gun. You could use the emplacements, other anti-tank, like, you know, obviously recoilless, stuff like that. They were just tanking that shit. So I think that's great. That'll help. Overseers, they reduced the frequency of the elevated overseer spawning during prevent invasion foothold missions. So I guess that specific mission had too many elevated overseers. But now overseers can occasionally spawn from landed drop ships at outposts, adding variety to their battlefield presence. So I guess outposts are going to have more of the overseers. To me, that kind of sucks because overseers are annoying to deal with. But again, if it's the whole spawn change thing, it makes sense now. You get close to the base, they'll spawn out of the base as opposed to them just spawning from the drop ships and stuff. So not great, but if there's less enemies but more overseers, like whatever, right? And then for the Leviathan, it did 1,500 damage, which is insane. They nerfed it to 350. Clearly going to one-shot any Helldiver no matter what. The only one way to survive that, I guess, is the 50% chance not to die armor passive. Like, I think that would work. Hey, bud. I think that would work to kind of help you out. But otherwise, it's still going to one-shot you. But their kind of logic behind that was it's not going to just one-shot your exosuits and your FRVs. So I think that's cool. But then a more explosion damage radius from the turret shots. So yes, explosive resist armor is going to be better for the Illuminate. Not that it wasn't already, but that could kind of help you out. But to me, there's no point. If you're just going to get one shot, you're just going to get one shot. I know the turrets don't one shot you all the time, but still. And then I think the last like enemy change, factory striders, you can't one shot them in the foot anymore. I don't know how much they increase the health. It doesn't necessarily say, but 2 shots to the foot maybe. It's going to suck because one shot to the foot was just such an easy way to deal with it. You can still one shot it to the face with the recoilless. So, not the end of the world. Forgive my cat for knocking stuff over here. But yeah, that's it. There's some crash fixes, some other bug and like fixes. The railgun scope not working for the heat level, entrenchment tool, stamina. Melee attacks inside of the shield relays were not registering. Okay, I didn't ever run into that one, but that's good. And then just a lot of mission fixes, which I kind of ran into. The other day I was running into a couple little deploy seismic probes, like mission glitch in the middle of a 10. We kind of had to start over. That was annoying. So again, that's kind of all the changes. To talk about it like a little bit more at length, especially like the stuff I'm interested in, the armor passes are going to be great. I use the unflinching just because I think it looks cool, like especially like this armor set. And I think 125 is going to be cool for medium armor. I mean, I like to use medium armor with the jetpack or just against Illuminate in general or bots because I feel like I need it. Against bugs, I kind of still run light armor, but, 25 extra, very, very cool. More grenades, obviously, super helpful. I don't really use these armor sets all that much unless I'm just trying to be silly. I was asking this question to the homies. I never really necessarily got a response. And so I'm going to pose this. If you're out there watching this on YouTube, if you get answer my question, that would be great. Servants of Freedom, right? Portable Hell Bomb. Don't necessarily know how it works, so I may need to watch a video on it. But my question is, I heard you have to arm it, but does it just blow up? Because I would think that plus this, you just kind of blow up when you die. If it's already on your back, armed or not, if you blow up, if that blows up, that's super dope. I would love that, and then 2 extra grenades. That would be something I could see myself running, just kind of running into a giant base, blowing myself up rather than calling in a hell pod or a hell pod, and then just dipping out. So again, if that works, I'm very curious. If that does, because that's kind of a niche strat I would like to use, then I think that's really cool. Otherwise, though, still super dope passive. I'm excited about the Peacemaker. I'm a big Verdict fan. Just everything about the way that pistol works, I just love. But, hey, Peacemaker, better, nice changes. So we do have a new major order. So if y'all don't know, major order diver here, for the most part. I do prefer to fight bugs. So the changes to the bugs, especially with the spawn rates, is super cool. I'm going to definitely do some bugs later on these 2 planets here. Definitely start with Crucible, more people there. Higher defense rating. Vote to get the DSS over here. But yeah, I'm going to test it out. I'm going to do another video after testing out the changes, just kind of let y'all know my secondary thoughts. But hope y'all like the video. I'm going to post some more stuff about this. Maybe do some more Helldivers video in the future. Hope y'all like it. Like and subscribe. Hope y'all have a good day. Peace.